Welcome, everyone, to Wilton Wednesday here on Libraries Alive. We have Ted, and we have been talking about football season. So let's bring Ted in. Hey, Ted.
You know, you give me such a nice build-up, but then my name is just Ted. Instead of and now it's Frank Gifford or Dandy Don Meredith, but no, it's just Ted. It always seems to kind of build, and then drop. Kind of a plain thing. But yeah, we've been talking pigskin here, and
you're the Wizard of Wilton. I mean, what else do you? But you're not like Bob Eubanks. I mean, you're not the actual person. You're Ted.
No.
God bless you for being Ted.
Well, I guess it's kind of that.
Is it a burden to be Ted?
It
probably is.
Sometimes it is. It just, friends, family, they expect quite a bit out of me. And it's always disheartening when I let them down, which is almost constantly. But I keep coming back. I'm not proud and I'm not tired. So I just keep coming back. And hey, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some ideas that you and I have been bouncing around. I want to throw it out to the viewing audience out there. We're going to start personalizing this show a little more. I'm going to be coming out into the community with my trusty iPhone, which is actually better than any camera we had 30 years ago. It's amazing. And I'm
3 years ago, really?
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago. And I'm going, if you see me coming, don't run, because I'll eventually capture you. But we just want to do little conversations, a little Q&A about, hey, what are you doing today? Oh, I'm not doing anything. Well, that's good. Tell us about that. But we want to start doing a little, I don't know, call it over the back fence, a little local gossip thing for Wilton Wednesday, and get the community involved. And Chad's willing to put up with my usual shenanigans and nonsense. But there's a lot of interesting people in town, and it is difficult in this day and age to break away from what you're doing. I know at 6:30 I'm watching Wheel of Fortune, so don't even try to get me to do anything.
What is up with Pat Sajak's hair, man? I am cursed my whole life. I just wake up with dread that today is the day that my hair looks like uncontrollably Pat Sajak, and there's no going back from that. I don't.
Yeah, hair is kind of. You see mine with the lights here of the Klieg's that we have. It looks like I have more hair than what it looks like on camera. I should probably lower these lights and have them shoot up or something, but they come down right on the top of my head. Thank God it doesn't show the back of my head. But yeah, the Beaver football team has been. I don't know if they do 2-a-days anymore or what have you, but
these guys look like they're hungry. They could do 4-a-days. They probably do all day.
Oh,
every day.
Number 55 is my neighbor kid. He's actually going to watch my dogs for me when we're gone for the next couple of weeks. Caden Sivia, good left-handed pitcher too for the Beaver baseball team. Now I don't know a lot of these kids, but they've got some good size, and they obviously have access to the lamp black for the under the eye treatment. And we have high hopes every year.
Right back here, that guy.
Yeah,
he's looking toward Tipton.
Yep, that's a good mullet.
Looking toward Durant.
Yep, that's a good. That's a good athletic mullet there.
You guys are in trouble.
So what we're planning on doing too is doing a man in the crowd stuff this fall, Friday nights in Wilton. So. Don't be shy when I come walking up, because it'd be fun to talk to some of the parents, siblings, relatives of the players that are out there on the field, and get a firsthand feel for what it's like on Friday night lights in Wilton, Iowa. So that's just kind of forewarning you that when you see me coming with my little iPhone, you're going to be part of the show, whether you want to or not. If I got to chase you down and hold you down while I interview, I will. Now,
and here is another example of great graphic design here in Wilton.
Now, I don't know who did that. Now, it's maybe Robert did. I'd have to ask him. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's based on photography. So yeah, I'm wondering if
whether that comes from a template or what. I have no idea. But yeah, that's. I'm trying to think. Their first game is not this weekend. It could be though. Yeah, I think their first game is Friday this weekend.
I would be shocked if it isn't. Let's find out together
Can we
here
do
on
that?
Libraries
Okay.
Live.
Through the miracle of the internet, the
Here
roster.
is the roster.
Okay,
According
Austin
to
Anderson.
Max Preps, which, if I recall, is fairly reliable.
Okay.
Again, I'm not sure. The smaller the school, I'm not sure the reliability, but these names look legit, right?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know? Do you recognize them?
Yes, I do. Cade Sahudra hit a home run in the state appearance of the baseball team this last summer.
So he's looking to have a standout senior season on the football field.
I
would
would,
say.
I would think so. I would think so. Yeah, I'm just trying to look and see what kind of size they got. Well, they got a 214 Parker Carpenter. Oh, that's 210, 6'2".
Senior.
That's some good size. Little defensive
That
end.
is.
Yeah.
He's getting. I would guess at that size, he's getting looks at least.
Yeah, Bryce Oveson's showing some good
FBS.
Now, hopefully, this is a current roster. We're not looking at last year's.
Or like 2019.
Yeah, 2019. These guys are all
Crumley.
These guys are all getting out of college by now. But excuse me, but people are looking forward to the football season,
So
and
here's the schedule.
you can kind of feel fall is in the air. Mid Prairie's
That
opener.
sounds like a good opening game challenge. Mid Prairie's
all.
Like I've covered Wilton football a long time ago on Channel 5 when it was with the Muscatine Journal back in the early 2000s. The Wilton Beavers had a great dominant team back then as well. And Mid Prairie, unfortunately, shockingly upset.
Oh, and
heartbreakingly upset the Wilton Beavers in Beaver Stadium.
Oh boy! Well, Mid Prairie was always a strong school down Mid Prairie Wellman, I guess we used to call them. But we played. We went down there to play them. Our 1968-69 football team, they went undefeated. They went 8-0. They were ranked, I think, and ended up being ranked third in the state and so forth. So they had a great year. Well, then, you graduate a lot of seniors off that strong team. And the next year, when I was a junior on the varsity football team, we weren't quite that strong. And we went down to we had a tough year. I think we finished 3-4 or something like that. And we went down.
What year was that?
That would have been the fall of '69. And we went down to Mid Prairie to play them, and they dressed everybody in school, and I think a few farmers from around the area in football uniforms. So we're down there kind of warming up, doing our jumping jacks and so forth. And all of a sudden, this gigantic wave of Mid Prairie players comes over the hill. It looked like the Visigoths were coming. But so anyway, the game starts, and needless to say, they had some good size on that team. In fact, Dan Dickel played some NFL football. He was their kicker and defensive end.
Dan Dickel. That sounds like an NFL name.
Oh yeah. Dan
it could be a kicker. I guess when you're dealing with the NFL names, it could almost be any position.
Yeah,
but that definitely.
Well, that was their time to be a high performing high school, cyclical, what kind of talent you get rolling through a small town school. And they actually finished second in the state in their class in basketball that year. Some of the same players that were on the football team were on that team. So they had a good program going that year. But Dan Dickel, I remember him because at the end of the first quarter, we were behind 38-0. That almost doesn't seem possible because I think we were playing, I don't know, did we play 10-minute quarters or 8-minute quarters? It was like a freight train going. You threw the ball to them, and it was like the Gas House Gorillas in that Warner Brothers cartoon. Everyone steps up and hits a home run. But so at the end of the third quarter, we're behind 38-0. And I remember coming to the sideline. I played halfback that year. You've seen some of my highlight films that I've graciously provided you. And I came to the sideline, and Pete Noplis had done that. Well, that's Doc Stanley. He wasn't on our team. We could have used him that night. But Pete Nopoulos, a classmate of mine and successful dentist up in the Marion area, now retired, says, well, at this rate, we're going to lose 168 to nothing. And that was very encouraging. Well, Coach Kramer figured, well, we better change up because we're not scoring and they're scoring a lot. So he put me in at quarterback to, shake things up. And we actually, over the next 3 quarters, we scored more points on Mid Prairie than they had scored on them all year. I think they wound up beating 62-18. But it was just mayhem. I threw a little short touchdown pass to Dennis Booner Banky. And they hit him so hard it knocked his helmet sideways, and he was out of the game. They knocked him out. I remember one time we were running a shotgun formation, which was basically just to give us time to evade their rush. And I took the snap, and I come rolling right. Here comes Dan Dickel, like Ted, who's the guy for the Oakland Raiders, the Mad Stork? Ted, I can't think of his last name right now. And he was just going to take my head off, and I ducked, and he missed me. So
That's how legends are born.
Yeah, I survived. Ted
Is this
Hendricks.
the Dan Dickel that you know?
That is Dan Dickel. Yeah, he played for the Colts. I don't know how many years he played for them.
Let's find out. Now it says here linebacker and Dan Dickel. There you go.
Yeah,
perfect.
And so he did really well. He had the Colts and the Lions. So I think he had about a 4-year career, which is really that's pretty darn good. And
he had 1 start, 1 interception.
All right, couple of fumble recoveries. So yes, he made his mark. But yeah, I remember that to this day. Oh, he coached too. Where did he coach? Highland. Okay, down by Riverside. Regina. Okay.
You know how it almost seems like that's kind of a non-existent rivalry between Wilton and West Liberty.
It used to be a lot more because they would come over here and date our girls, and then our guys would go over there and date their girls, and then there'd be a range war at the Atalissa Dance or at the West Liberty Fairgrounds where they used to have signs posted, $100 fine for fighting. Some of the guys, they'd come in and just hand over their $100 and, okay, what's up?
Was Atalissa kind of the crossroads, kind of the wayfaring point? Where
it was like a halfway point. It was like a stagecoach stop. You had a little bar there and this and that. But
well, who claimed rights? I mean, I'm talking about
to Atalissa?
Battlegrounds between Wilton and West Liberty, because that seems fairly reasonable to think, it's about midway.
It's about midway, but Atalissa, they went to the West Liberty schools.
They went to the West Liberty side of things.
Yeah, now Debbie, you remember roller derby Debbie Garvey, my wife. She grew up on a farm north of Atalissa, and where she grew up was the last house that went to Wilton. So she could have gone to West Liberty, but as the stars and fate would have it, she went to Wilton. And but yeah, the rivalry was not the same as the intense rivalry of Wilton versus Durant. 2 towns 5 miles apart, and that's always been a fun fun thing over the years. But I don't know who West Liberty would consider their big like arch enemy. It's fun about the small towns is typically there's we like pretty much everybody else. We play them, they beat us, we beat them, but we hate those guys. So it'd be interesting to hear from somebody in West Liberty as to who they would consider to be their arch rivals. Is it Mediapolis? Is it Wapello? Is it I don't know, Iowa City, Regina? Who knows? But
well, that would be maybe a good question to ask. Put it in your bag of questions when you're out and about. If you happen to be at a football game, for instance.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of people in town that are from somewhere else, so it'd be fun to hear them talk about their high school football years. I mean, that's what we're talking about here in a small town is high school football. You don't have to be, people think I'm bragging. No, we want to hear. We want to know. I mean, you just showed that clip of the mayor of Wilton, Keith Stanley, the practiced dentistry here for 40 plus years. It's not that you constantly flaunt it, but it is fun to turn back the page and fondly look back at those times and
Well,
realize.
because there was a lot of hard work put into it. So why not kind of look back and celebrate?
Yeah, well, and it's I don't know. Football, I guess, is kind of a primal game. Like, okay, Ben, it has very militaristic terminology, right? The line of scrimmage. George
Well,
Carlin
it's
did a great
just like
comedy routine on that.
men battling it out,
Yeah,
with
well,
physical brute strength
and speed
and speed
and
and all
and
of the
aggressiveness and people that like
as
to hit. Now,
top flight
I, li-
physical characteristics
I like
are
to
all on the
avoid being
table.
hit. That's what I practice. Avoid being hit, and you come out of the game okay. But sometimes you were forced into having to hit somebody, and most of the time you survive. But every once in a while, you kind of felt that electric shock down into your toes.
I could only, my son was a defensive linebacker in high school, and what you would probably consider a standout would be,
Hmm.
I think maybe 2 or 3 times was the player of the game by
Really?
the sponsor. Yeah, he had some good plays and some good games. But I just remember, especially when he was a freshman and sophomore, he played on the offensive side, and he would come home and just be in terrible pain. Like he had to lay down on his bed, and he hurt so bad. And that was just as a freshman. I remember thinking, I'm so glad he moved to the defensive side. But
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
it's,
there were a couple of times I got hit on my right quad with a helmet tackle, and the bruise, I couldn't figure it out. My leg hurt, ached, couldn't sleep at night, and the bruise finally came out like a week later. It was a deep, deep, deep bruise. Back then it was like it wasn't go see the trader. Coach Graybar came over and he took this little half-inch thick piece of foam and taped it over the bruise, and
taped a bruise. Well,
oh, it was. I think it was a bone bruise. I don't know if there's such a thing as that or not, but yeah, that would hurt. And the worst one was I was carrying the ball, and the guy that tackled the ball, and he pinched this finger, or maybe it was this finger. I don't know. These two fingers have been cold ever since football. I think a nerve stopped working or something. They're cold to the
maybe he
touch.
was like a secret superhero that was like the ice touch. And
Maybe,
you just got zapped. Well, have
but
you ever looked at the geography? I am convinced now it might be worth study. There could
okay.
be an electromagnetic anomaly between Wilton and West Liberty, causing this kind of seemingly irrelevance to each other.
Well,
Look
I
at
think
this
it's
land, geographically speaking,
that's a good point in the fact
the
that
Cedar River
Cedar
is a
River
dividing line.
cuts it off.
Look
Yeah.
at that odd geographic buildup right around this area here, which is,
Well, that's Wendling Quarries.
there you go. See,
Yep. So
something's going on there.
they're mining dilithium crystals there. Everybody thinks they're mining gravel, but they're but yeah, that's Wendling Quarries. Yeah, I don't know if they dynamite anymore or not,
Well,
but
that's almost bigger than the city of Wilton.
it's pretty big. It's been there a long. I think it's been there in that site. I want to say for 140 years. I could be wrong on that. Somebody should call in
You need to be, yes,
563-554-4750
take your
and give
camera
me
and
the
get out
correct
there.
answer. But yeah, you see that Muscatine County. It might
You
be.
see that Durant is considerably closer to
Yeah.
Wilton.
Now they are in Cedar
And
County.
Alyssa, I can see how they went to the West Liberty side of
Yeah,
things.
but again, that begs the point: who would West Liberty consider? That'd be fun to hear from them as to who they consider to be their biggest rival. We used
They're kind of out there a little bit isolated. When you
maybe
consider this West Liberty, you can see that there's West Liberty,
oh maybe
and the
maybe
closest, maybe West Branch or
maybe
Lone
West
Tree.
Branch. Yeah, they have proximity to West Branch. Yeah,
You come over to Wilton, now you're getting a little bit more geographic rivals. You got Durant.
Durant
I
and
thought
Wilton.
Tipton might be closer, but I guess Tipton's not as close as I was
Yeah,
thinking.
Tipton's about 18 miles, so that's kind of hard to sustain a small town rivalry. That's the distance is too much. But so
So
yeah,
who all has teams in this area in your kind of conference? So we got Wilton and
well,
Durant.
the sad thing for a geezer like me is they have what they call the River Valley Conference or whatever. But back when we were kids and growing up, they had the Eastern Iowa Hawkeye Conference, and that was teams that Mid Prairie was one, West Liberty, West Branch, Wilton, Durant. Help me out here. I think there were like 8 teams in that conference way back when, and so you had a conference champion. There were no playoffs, so that was a frustrating thing. It was the sports writers and the coaches that would vote on who's the number one team and so forth.
So we're looking at the rankings, and now that I'm looking at this, I remember checking this out when my son played, and it was exciting because they do seem to keep statistics. What do you know? What class Wilton would be in?
I think Wilton is 2A. And back when we played, there were 2 classes. There was small school and big school.
Van Meter, the Van Metermont. Maybe that's what's going on out there at the quarry.
I always like to try and figure out their nicknames. Is it the Van Meter Men or the Van Meter Maids as a derogatory
Van Meter
tier?
monsters.
The green.
Do you know about that legend? I mean, I think there's photographs of this creature
In Van Meter?
Appeared in Van Meter back in like the 20s.
In Bob Feller's hometown?
Winged. Whose hometown?
Bob Feller. Rapid Robert.
Yes. And this winged pterodactyl-like creature with some sort of glowing red either eye or head of some sort.
Really?
They had a mine. There's a mine in Van Meter, and they say it came from, and it sat on the roof of this building for a day, and somebody has a picture of it. I've seen it in a book, and apparently it flew away. It was about the size of a goat.
Really? Maybe a giant fruit bat?
I'll look that up in a second.
All right, yeah, look that up.
Prairie, here we go.
But yeah, I wonder.
They're in this 2A. They're rated number 23. I don't see Wilton in the top 25. So this first game.
Well, look at 1A. Maybe we're 1A this year. We're at that. They have these complex rules and regs on whether you're 1A or 2A, and I think Wilton kind of hovers in there. So if you get 2 students that enroll that weren't enrolled last year, you're 2A. And if you lose 3, you're a 1A. That's where we're at, is right on that cusp. So if you check 1A out, maybe we're in that one this year. I don't know, but I would guess more 2A.
All right. Look at this. Wilton, River Valley Conference.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's 2 divisions to it. It basically is set up for the district qualification for the playoffs. Everything drives to the playoffs. Whereas when you had a conference, there was that honor of you could get the patch that you were the Eastern Iowa Hawkeye Conference champions, 1968 or whatever. And but now it's all driven to the playoffs.
Well, this will be a good game nonetheless because.
Oh, yeah.
Mid Prairie seems to be coming into the season rated in the top 25. So
it'll be a good game.
A home field advantage. Everybody in Wilton should be out in Beaver Stadium.
Be a good crowd, absolutely. Now, I'll be in England, working for MI5 or 6. They wouldn't tell me which. But so I'll miss the game. But when we get back, we're definitely going to be coming up to the Friday night games and checking out the pulse of the crowd to see how things are going in Beaver Nation. If got kids playing or related to kids that are playing and so forth, it should be kind of fun as we drive this show, Chad, to be more viewer responsive. I might
Speaking of,
yes,
Chad, we are not only viewer responsive, we are also co-host responsive, and here is
1903
information of it was 1903. So there's a drawing of
holy cow
what somebody saw, but there's the photo. It is look.
Well, it looks like a giant eagle. That's
I'm not kidding.
that's the
You
one.
haven't heard of this?
That's the one photo they have.
Yeah, that's the photo. The guy, it was like back in the day, like the Oscar Grossheim days,
Yeah, yeah.
1903.
Was it got a light on its head? What? Why is that?
That's what I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, I've never heard of that before. And it sat there for a day, looking for a victim, and then just.
Well, no, it didn't. I don't think it harmed anybody. It seemed like it was confused, and then that's why they thought it came. Look, maybe that's a different second photo, maybe.
I don't know, man.
But yeah, so
Well,
I don't know. Everybody has. You
Yeah,
can
well-
see the theories and all the wacky stuff that has been spawned from it.
What is that? A patch for Van Meter that has the bat on? Look, right there. Oh, well, he must have had a light on his head. Look, they're showing him shining a headlight on the ground.
Well, yeah, but you don't know what has evolved with like the urban myth of it.
Yeah,
If the photo didn't exist, nobody would probably
you would
believe
know.
this.
But there's a photo. That's something. Man, you wonder if you're running that through an AI to enhance, take the pixels and make the decision on sharpening that thing up, what that would look like.
What's going on? I know it's like all these strange things. Now this is 1903, which in my mind, a lot of strange things may be the result of nuclear messing around with nuclear particles. But
I think that was
this
beforehand.
is before that. Yeah, this is 1903, and it's one of those strange, but could be a hoax. It could be a very early hoax that the town. But the whole town would have had to been in on it.
Well, you'll find things. There's cute stories, movies out there where the whole town. Did you ever see the movie Waking Ned Devine?
No, but I've heard of it.
Well, Ned Devine was alive, but apparently the guy that died was a winner of the lotto for quite a bit of money, and so they
And
had.
his real name was Divine.
I think so. Yes, Ned Devine, Devine, like Tom, like what's his name, Devine of the coach.
Are you Ned Divine? This is all making sense. It's all of a sudden, Irish pub.
Well, no, the whole town had to hang in on it because they made this guy Ned Devine, and so they had the funeral for Ned Devine, and this other guy here that won the lotto, that he was the imposter to win it, he got to see his own funeral, the waking of Ned Devine, and what nice things people would say about him. So the whole town was in on the scam. So if there's money involved or publicity, at a small,
Is that Ned Divine?
that's that's the hero of the story. Yeah, Waking Ned Devine, cute Irish movie.
Look, when you would see a picture like this, what other word would come to your mind but cute?
Cute or oh my god. But yeah, that was the basic premise, is that the whole town came together to perpetrate the scam on the British lotto system, so that they got the money, and the guy that really won it was dead, so they wouldn't have had to pay him. So they were all in on the scam. So yeah, maybe Van Meter, Iowa. How big was it then? What, 600 people maybe? And some local entrepreneur says we could get a lot of tourism in here if we could just bring attention to ourselves. And so they, had some guy, stuff a big eagle and then puff it up and make it look like a bat.
Well, it was before the day and age of that type of thinking, though. I mean, it just doesn't seem to fit in that type of.
What, P.T.
For some of
Barnum?
these early photos like that, it just doesn't make sense that would really be. There's just so many. That's just such a far-reaching possibility. It is much simpler to think that this is a creature that is somehow out of time or definitely out of place.
The thing is how come there's only one picture? The guy ran out of film?
Well, these are the days of having silver plates.
Yeah.
Like you had to really physically take a plate out of a big wooden box.
Oh, no, no, I understand, but I mean, he only had
But that
one.
is true.
He only had one plate. I mean, he couldn't have set up here and then go over here and we'll get another angle on that thing.
Yeah, you would think that, but I don't know the credibility of that. I know that the Chad Lewis actually during COVID did a series of 6 programs for the Musser Public Library about. He's like a monster hunter. And
Yes.
he's been on different History Channel shows, but he wrote a book about the Van Meter, and he's the one that had that photo, but in that book. But you're right. How many other?
I'm always suspicious that like photos of Bigfoot, they're always blurry. In this age of incredible camera technology available to anybody in your hand, that UFO pictures are always blurry.
The blue UFO thing though, man. To me, Bigfoot, I would agree. All the like Loch Ness, but even things like the Van Meter, but UFO, the UAPs or whatever you want to call them, man. That is something. There is something.
Somebody's flying something around up there, and what I look at is in the scheme of technology. The SR-71 Blackbird, which was conceived of in the early 50s and outperformed anything that we know of for 30 years, 40 years before it was finally retired because the KH series of satellites could get the same type of imagery without the risk to the pilots and such. But I think we're probably seeing are black projects of the successor to the SR-71, whatever that might be, and whatever propulsion system it might be using. That's more than likely what's happening. Now, the G-forces and stuff that those things are pulling, I have no idea how we would solve that unless they've been watching Star Trek and have figured out how to make an inertia damper.
They do seriously have that technology. It's based on some sort of like liquid mercury at some freezing point or something that circulates,
mm-hmm.
and it creates. I don't know. They supposedly have 2 working UFO models.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the SR-70
like this that can go in space in a vacuum faster than the speed of light. They
faster than the speed of light?
Well, because it will reduce its mass, because it does the opposite of what Einstein's theory suggests, that when you gain speed, you also gain mass.
Yeah.
Has the opposite, like it reflects some sort of law of gravity using a negative ion.
Well, how many times has there been a breakthrough in technology that just came out of the blue through whatever accident occurred, and it suddenly, why does this thing work? And
you just wonder, because how can science fiction writers even make this stuff up? Maybe they can, but the types of ways that it's released and the things that you see kind of make you wonder, because I think that now versus 10 years ago, the American public is more open for the idea of extraterrestrials. I don't like to say that really, but something in our skies that isn't necessarily man-made.
Mm-hmm.
I think the average person on the street is much more cognizant and not necessarily comfortable, but would agree that is likely than there would be even 10 years ago. And 50 years ago, nobody would even. They would say you're nuts for even asking.
Yeah, you were a kook, but it's just interesting how prevalent it has become, and I'm skeptical. I'm open. I like the stuff. It's fun to figure how is that happening and what is it. And we talked about this before, where I've seen with my own eyes a couple of things that can't explain that, but I saw it. And but I tend to think it's technology that whoever is working on that is not ready to be released to the public, and maybe they're trying to harness it. It's like I think my son told me one time the DVD, the CD, which are going the way of the dodo bird, they can make them by the billions, but they still don't know quite sure how they work the way they work.
A
But they know,
CD.
yeah. Well, why does a laser do what it does? Yeah, I mean, they can do it, they can hack it,
Well,
they
how
can
did
control it.
they figure
But
it out to begin with? Just randomly
well,
shooting lasers
somebody
at
think
stuff, and they just happen to have an encoded disc
well they
that
know how,
relate.
no, they developed the technology. It started to do what they wanted it to do, and they go, anybody know why this is working like this? And they go, well, we don't know, but we can certainly control it and make it work.
Well, the light, that whole idea that light is a wave until it's observed, could possibly have something to do with it at the quantum mechanics level of it.
Yes.
So does that mean that the information encoded on the disk has a conscious?
I don't. No,
How
I
else
don't.
would the
I don't.
light be
No, I don't think it means that.
entangled?
But I don't think it means that. But you start getting into stuff, and you start delving down. The micro world is as mysterious and vast as the outer space world. I've
I
been
would
reading.
think even more so. That's why sometimes I think, that government would say, "Oh, they're not extra," and they laugh. "Oh, it's not an alien." Well, maybe that's just because they know it's like an inner space presence.
Well, I've been reading stuff on DNA recently, and we think of DNA as that nice little helix, like a Tinker toy. No, it literally you have so much DNA in your body that if you
Did you just think that maybe you just had one of those special little
yeah,
things per person?
it's like in my spine or something.
Yeah, I
But
can see how that would be. And you
but
could maybe just at someday in a future world with Ted's imagination, you could just get into your spine and just replace those little spheres of
take that one out and
DNA.
put that one in, and
Yeah, the RNA
but no,
molecule can
I
just
think
be
I read
operated
something like
on.
if you took a single DNA helix and stretched it in a line, it would stretch 1,000 miles. Now, how is that possible? And each of your cells has that.
And what would it be made out of? I mean, what is it, the
Well,
substance,
I
the
suppose
material that would make the
I,
mass of
I
it?
suppose proteins, this, that, and the other. I don't know. What would I know? I watch the videos and read about it. But
I
yeah,
think it's interesting, and really, to me, all of it's really being overthought. I think the simplest ideas are probably the truer of it. Because when we start thinking, oh, then what if these people are traveling in some sort of aluminum and they're going through space?
well, and that's that.
I mean, what kind of biologically advanced creatures really going to be cruising around out in the vacuum of space?
And what are they coming here for? Why do they have to hide? Those are the
Right.
obvious questions. Like if they're that smart, and this and that and the other. I mean,
Which makes
are they
so
violating
they're
their prime
here. So
directive?
based on the given that they are here, then what would be another explanation? To me, I tend to think maybe it's more of an advanced intelligence or presence that has been here for millions of years, and just to them, this is their Earth, and they might be on a different time scale, let's say, and so we are just more of a evaporating pool of water than. And so to them, we're ants or whatever that they know in a way that we really have no effect or influence unless we blow up the planet. We really have no.
Well, I don't think we're going to be able to pull that off. But
Yeah.
speaking of intelligence, uh, by the way, do you like my haircut? Mary Carpenter did that
It
for me
looks
last week.
like
Looks like
you've colored your hair.
no, I have not. It's these lights. Of course, I've been out in the sun. I spent 3 hours painting my fence 2 days ago, and I think I gave myself heat stroke. But the city council met Monday night. Now, I wasn't there. We had some old friends come in from out of town, so we had to have dinner with them. But they were looking at approving the splash pad plan and city park plan. I got to call somebody and see what they came up with. I think they were going to vote on that, but I think everybody was pretty much in agreement. Uh, on a agricultural from Kevin next door. I got to go edge lawns today. I mean, the life goes on, and time is compressing because we are headed to jolly old England in a few days, and I hope to be able to do some reporting from over there.
Yeah, why
And
not? I mean,
yeah,
because it's a nice little
well, we're not actually going to London.
opportunity to
We're
see.
going to a small town on the coast. I mean, we're landing in Heathrow, but then we're going to train down to the coast, a little town called Folkestone. It's near
So
the,
what we have here, Ted.
yes.
Now, right now, our fans that are watching in Ireland, they have this chance to meet you in person.
Well, we're just across the channel there. They could come over, and so we'll be in Folkestone, down by the cliffs of Dover. Then we're going to go up to a little town called Woodstock, which is where my daughter's husband's great grandmother lives. She's like 93, 94, and we were going to do this back in 2020, but then COVID hit and changed everybody's plans, so we canceled all that. But so we're going to do it now. And so we'll be up in Woodstock, which is north of Oxford, about 20 miles or so, I guess. Then, get this. Debbie and I are going
Okay.
back to Heathrow, and we're flying to Rome. I hear there's a lot of old buildings in Rome, and they're pretty interesting to see. So that's what we're going to do.
Now, what is it like? Do you think your reception off of the airport in Heathrow when you're recognized as, and Debbie maybe even more so, as the '70s roller derby icons?
Well,
Do you expect
that is
just a massive amount of fans?
no, that has not happened before. I wish it were, get me into that short line through customs, but oh, looky there! I saw a lot of my
Now here we
friends.
have the Hall of Fame. Now,
Yeah,
have
there's
are
Ralphie.
you or Debbie in the Hall of Fame? It's
No, no,
interesting that.
no. They typically do that for all the 50s and 60s, and some into the 70s stars. But no, by the
Is
time
there a
we,
petition that our fans could sign to get you in? You and
I,
Debbie.
I think, I think there's quite a few people ahead of us that
What
would go to.
separates a guy like Ted Maroff with Robbie Raines? I mean, what? How could Ronnie Raines?
Oh, he was legend. I mean, he was an excellent skater. He was a national champion speed skater before he went into roller derby. Yeah, Psycho Ronnie Raines, and we came in at a time when it was not at its most popular, and so we're not as well known as some of these guys. I mean, Larry Lewis he was just the best. Larry Lewis, you couldn't skate better than Larry Lewis and be a human being. And Liz, I did not skate against Liz Hernandez, but she did make some guest appearances and stuff in the infield
It
and so
looks
forth.
like roller derby is about inclusion and diversity, though.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm seeing all sorts of different people
Yep.
enjoying the sport.
In the bottom right there in the red, that's Leroy Gonzalez. He was a mean street fighter, but
Who?
Leroy Gonzalez.
Leroy Gonzalez.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Right there in the red uniform, number 27 there. I skated with Leroy at
you
Madison
could
Square
take
Garden.
him.
And he was a California State typing champion in high school for 2 years running. But no, he's passed on. And Judy Swinsky, I did not skate when she was skating. George Copeland was before my time, but he was an excellent skater. Dave Pound, toughest.
Dave Pound.
Yeah, he was 210 pounds of just badass guy. And
Bad dude, Dave Pound. Who
yeah,
wins in a backyard brawl between Dave Pound and Dan Dickel?
Dave Pound.
Really?
Yeah. John Parker. John was we skated a game at the Tropicana in Las Vegas, and John needed a ride back to LA, so John rode with Debbie and me. John, bless his heart, nicest guy, toughest, strongest dude. I hit him so hard once, I shook my own liver loose, and I didn't move him an inch. But he talked nonstop for 4 hours from
The
Vegas to LA.
liver loose. You shook your liver loose
Oh,
hitting this guy.
I really was like, ow, what did I do? I mean, I came down from the high side, which you really shouldn't do, but I didn't know what else to do to try and move him.
Now,
And
see, why wouldn't you want to come down from the high side?
because that's a cheap shot. it's you
The
can
angular velocity gives you the distinct
it gives
advantage.
you, and you can blindside somebody, and they're just unwritten things that you don't do.
Did you know at the time? Was there an air about this guy besides maybe gas station nachos that he was a Hall of Fame caliber when he was riding with you
Well,
and Debbie?
well, yeah. By the time I was skating with John, John was Hall of Fame. I mean, he skated through the late '50s into the '60s, and he was a protagonist that people loved to hate. Chief John Parker, and his shtick was he'd wear a little headdress every now and then, and do the Indian War dance and so forth. But yeah, so the roller
Wow.
derby Hall of Fame, yeah, gee whiz.
Now, were you on the T-Birds at one time? What
Just
teams were you on?
just briefly, my claim to fame was the Detroit Devils. I was on the Devils, number 28, but number one in your hearts.
Were the who were the Yankees? Was it the
The
T-Birds? It
T-Birds,
seems like
yeah,
to me, yeah.
T-Birds were the Celtics slash Yankees. Yeah, that was the T-Birds. They were what the league was built around to promote, and they're the most known. In
And you were the
fact,
Detroit what?
Detroit Devils. In fact, you can get uh, T-Bird jerseys from it's called I forget the site, but if you Google LA T-Birds jerseys, you'll go to this site. I think it's can't think of it right now, but they're about $85. But they're was put together by there's one of our teams.
What number did you say you were?
28. I'm the guy in the middle
You
with the blonde
on
hair.
this? You are. So this is like the Detroit Devils page, and
Is
you're
it?
on their opening.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think Scotty must be putting this stuff together. But yeah, so we're on quite a few Devils
What was
teams.
it? A 79? What year could we see?
79. Was I on that team? I forget. No, that was at the Forum. I wasn't on that team yet. But
So
that's,
did you have both a man and a women's
yeah, yeah,
team?
yeah. The women would come out and skate a 10-minute period. Then the men would come out. Then the women. Then the men. And we had two 4-period
There
halves.
you are.
Yep, there I am again. And yeah, Freddie Lucero, Ronnie Cheatham,
How
Greg
many Hall of
Quinn.
Famers do we see here?
Harold on the end should be 25. Yeah, Harold should be in the Hall of Fame. He's the one that had the YouTube thing that Scotty Stevens posted that has over 25 million views right now. I mean, it's Harold doing his thing, about a 30-minute clip of some of his outrageous stuff that he would do on the track. I don't know where this
If you were looking at like people that might not belong, what's this guy number 27? Was he like the team magician, or did he do like just entertain the team at halftime, or what's
No, he was a big pack skater. He did all right. But Tony
an
Trujillo,
impact skater?
number 26, we stay in touch with him. And let me see, Larry Hamilton, 24. Oh, yeah, yeah.
What is this? Is that you? Number
Where?
28 there? Is that Rosie, a
No,
rosy
no,
cheek?
no, that's Freddie Lucero. And then on the end is Stevie Santillan. But yeah, we stay in touch. We stay in touch with most of those guys. But gosh, a trip down memory lane.
Damn, it all started with this guy.
Yeah, with Dan Dickel. Wonder what Dan must be retired by now. I would
Well,
think.
let's find out.
Can you
This
find
is
out?
what's fun about doing stuff that we've talked about here on the show today earlier was you go out, why not try to find some of these people that simply the people that you haven't talked to in a while that you have stories about, like a Dan
Well,
Dickel.
I've always wondered. I have my version of what happened, and I wonder if he remembers. Like, I missed that guy. I would have broke him in half, and I missed. I wonder if he
Well,
has
we can
that as a
talk
memory.
yeah, wouldn't that be fun to just like get Dan Dickel around? Maybe Dan Dickel is the Ted Marloff.
Well, I'd feel like Chris.
Mid-Prairie.
I'd feel like Chris Farley.
Whatever town-
You,
yeah.
you remember that time when you almost hit me and I ducked under you? Yeah. Oh, that was awesome. That would be my only response. Okay, next question. But
No, we could have a lot of fun. I mean, there's so many things that we could do now with this. your willingness to talk to, and just not only to talk, but to know of a guy like Dan Dickel. Because
Well, it looks like he enjoyed a really nice coaching career in the general area. It would lead me to believe that he's either retired here and then has a retirement home in Scottsdale or something to get away from the cold weather, or maybe Florida. But yeah, do a little detective work. Hey, Dan, you want to come on the show?
Well, maybe there's other, like roots and connections between Wilton and the area. I mean, it's local. It's not like we're going out and trying to.
Well, I keep trying to get Caitlin Clark to come on, but she's busy.
Go figure.
But I don't know. She's got that career of hers that's really running wild, I guess. But that team, I'm trying to think of some other guys on that team. Steve Mast, I don't know whatever happened to him. Don Showalter, he coached basketball at Mid Prairie for years. He's a legend. I think he's probably in the Iowa Sports Hall of Fame for high school, for coaching, if not for playing. He was their shooting guard on that team that took second in the state. I don't know if he played on their football team or not. Maybe he did.
Well, it's just kind of an inspirational story for today's generation of what you have done and the accomplishments that have come from smaller areas in our community. And who am I to say it? Muscatine, we are a small town in Iowa. And so what better place to really experience this rural lifestyle? And these people that go to these schools, younger students, it's important that they realize that people from our own area have made it not only to the big time, but to the Hall of Fame levels of the real world. Mm-hmm. The more we can celebrate that and highlight those stories, I think I'm all for that, man. And you're just the guy to get Wilton stories. No, we get
from a certain era. But yeah, it would be fun to hear from a guy like Dan that, this is what happened, and it would be fun to hear him because he played in the NFL when it was the brutal NFL, 77 to 81 or something like that. And so it'd be fun to, he would have played against Walter Payton.
It would be interesting. He would have played against a lot of the players that I remember. Tony Dorsett, was he in the league then?
I think Wilton's own Wally Hilgenberg was still playing in 76, 77. Maybe, I forget when Wally finally retired. He was reaching probably the end of his career, but maybe they shook hands on the sideline. Wally would have sought him out knowing he was a Hawkeye. Dan played at Iowa. So.
And I wonder what quarterback he intercepted.
Ooh. Oh, it had to have been a Bears quarterback, probably. It was some Bear quarterback that went to throw the ball and it flopped up in the air.
I don't get the Bears, really. I mean, it's like they're...
You watch your mouth.
For 1 year, they win a Super Bowl or go to the Super... And then immediately they go into the tank for the next 15 years.
Well, if you remember, this next year they came back, almost made it, but it wasn't their year. The Giants beat them. But the Bears lost a couple of players from that defense. They signed for more money with whoever, and so they weren't quite the team that they were. And McMahon, I think McMahon got hurt that next year. That vicious hit from that Green Bay Packer guy that threw him to the turf like 9 seconds after the play had ended.
McMahon's he's got, I don't even know if he's still alive.
No.
He was. In last interview I saw with him on ESPN, he was having some mental issues.
I've followed that a little bit. They have corrected that to some extent to where he's made somewhat of a recovery from that. But yeah, I saw him down live and in person down in where the heck were we? Amelia Island for a Fujitsu thing, and we're having our hospitality suite, and everybody's in there. And look over there, and Jim McMahon's there. So he came into our hospitality suite, like, hey, what's happening?
That was when he was in his prime playing time?
No, that was when he was in his prime drinking. And so he was always looking for the next party, so.
Something tells me you had at least one EP of the Super Bowl Shuffle. I know I did.
Oh, did you have that? That was pretty clever.
The punky QB known as McMahon.
Yeah.
If he can't do it, no one can.
Yeah, that was yeah, but I agree with you. It's like 1985. Oh man, that's 40 years ago. Come on, Bears.
Lord, 1985 must go down in history as one of the greatest years ever.
Yeah, the
whole decade of the 80s.
Yeah, if you're a Bears fan, that was just.
Well, if you just are a fan of just like a carefree, easy-going life, even though I was a kid, so what do I know? Maybe all kids think that way about the decade
of their youth. No responsibilities, no bills to pay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was.
Let me see. 85.
So many iconic.
85. We were living in
and have been created from the 80s.
See, we were living in Phillips Ranch with a mortgage of 10.25% interest. We filmed 26 ESPN shows for roller derby that year, and so we go to Vegas like once a month and do like 4 shows, and then come back. And that was about the only thing we were doing then. So yeah, mowing the lawn, making it look nice, using the spa. Finally got the spa going. So yeah, 85 was kind of a fun year for the Mara family in Southern California. Super Bowl Shuffle.
Do you remember getting those little EPs? And then there were like cassette singles.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's hard to believe, kids, that record would be played. There would be only 2 songs on that record, a front and a back, 1 song on each side.
And that was it, yeah.
That was all. And you had to have a record player to listen to it.
Well,
it wasn't something you could take in a car with you.
No. Well, I've kept my Techniques direct drive turntable bought from Rogers Sound Lab in 1980. So I still have that going for me. But I never did buy the extended play thing. But I do have a lot of cassette tapes, that archaeologists will find someday.
I don't know why. Maybe I just think EP is like, I don't even know what I'm saying. Maybe I just thought that's what like a single record was called. But
EP was an extended play. So typically a 45 would give you a 3.5.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah,
See, it's been so long, and I was young that when I got to my middle school, it was all cassette tapes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But,
well, and then to have a cassette tape player that would dub to a blank tape, that was
tapes. Now you're getting into the early 90s even.
Oh, no, I saw my first one of those in 1971. Those have been around a long time.
But that fad kind of lasted into the early 90s.
It lasted a long time, yeah. Tapes were around forever.
All right. What also is around forever is word of the day.
Yes.
Here it is. An interesting one today. Is it?
Is that it, Joanna? Is that
it? Is it? Is it?
Is that?
That's what I would think too, but
is it? A Don Martin, Mad's Maddest Artist sound effect. Zat. Is that? Or the Aardvark in BC.
Good enough to get us moving forward. It's honor, reputation, or prestige, and it's a noun. So how do you use it in a sentence? In an era where the is it of our culture hinges on innovation, Musser Public Library sees new communication technology not just as a tool, but a novel opportunity to preserve, enlighten, and share our modern experiences while truly making them timeless.
Would have never known that one.
From Arabic, izza means glory.
Okay.
This word is first recorded in the period of 1855 to 1860. Other words that entered English around that time: boilerplate, kickoff, interesting, pipeline, specialist, superheat.
Well, you wonder if Izzat isn't slang, and they finally just gave up and just said, okay, it's now a word. Because doesn't Webster's do that every year? They finally give up on some kind of slang and just, okay, it's a word. Here's a definition. It's not going to go away.
Yep.
And
Could be.
yeah, but boilerplate. Well, steam engine, steam power.
And kickoff, that can't be related to anything else besides football, right? So 1855, does that sound about right from the start of
football, rugby? I don't know. I don't know what the transition of football was. I mean, baseball traces its origins to 1839 in the United States, but kickoff.
Kickoff wouldn't. I can't imagine how that word would come to be in any other.
Well, football/soccer doesn't have a kickoff, does it?
I don't think anybody in America even knew what soccer was in 1855.
No, I wonder how far back football. I mean, it was in the college level in the 1870s for sure. Maybe,
so that's interesting. I guess it says around the same time, but specialists superheat.
Well, an industrial process, something superheat that to 900 degrees and melt it or something. I don't know. Hard to say. Well, this has been a fun show. Have we solved anything? But I want you viewers out there, when we get back from our hiatus across the pond, we are going to initiate some over the back fence stuff. If you see me coming, and let's just sit and have a cup of coffee and we'll chat. How's that sound? I'll take care of everything. You just have to be yourself. And we will show that right here on Wilton Wednesday. Right, Chad? I mean, that's the point.
Will.
And we won't make fun of you, right? I mean, that'll be Scout's honor. We will not make fun of you. And it'll be fun. You'll be able to see what your neighbors are up to, and kind of if you got something you're proud of doing, we'll have a good time doing that.
Of it. And I think that will go a long way once we kind of describe what the whole idea. It's more of a project in my mind, anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's just our never-ending attempt to make this show valid and meaningful and relevant.
Well, to use our time in a way that is responsible, I guess, for the resources that we have as a library. What use could this technology serve? And I feel the more we focus on our local people, what is going on with them, and how can we preserve what we do now, help encourage more people to
participate,
access and participate, while also,
I mean, even I'm getting tired.
People 100 years from now where they come from.
Even I'm getting tired of seeing me. I mean, I've run out of stories, Chad. There's nothing left. I mean, if I had to do a show tomorrow, I don't know what I'd do. I'd have to, do an AI of me talking to you. Go ahead, ask Ted AI a question and see how he does.
I would think that topic alone requires two full episodes to kind of really shake out, to kind of unpack.
It would,
they say.
It would. Well, now, Chad, I must leave you and our viewers. I must go do some lawn work, getting ready, make sure my suitcase is packed, find my passport, all that stuff. It's getting close.
We'll see. The viewers that are watching this, do not worry. We will find and follow Ted. You'll see his adventures one way or the other.
And I promise I will check in at least for a minimal amount of time just to let you know that I'm safe and what's been happening so far. But
I'm interested in seeing it because maybe we'll get fans. Maybe we'll see people from Ireland coming to greet you. There is a boatload of possibilities awaiting us.
Absolutely. All right. I'm on my way. See you, Chad. I'm hanging up.
Ted. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.